Good morning, Bonneville County. This is Senator Kevin Cook coming at you live from Facebook. This is Breakfast with the Cooks. It's a little late breakfast. Maybe we'll call it brunch with the cooks today. It has been a very, very busy week. And so this is the second week of the session is closed. It's done. It's in the books. And so it's only been 2 weeks, but it seems like it's been a whole month. It's been very, very busy, exciting. The learning curve is huge, but it's been wonderful. Probably the biggest news of the week, I guess it's ongoing news since March, is again the governor's declared emergency. There is still no end to it. It is still going forward. There is legislation that it's going through both the House and the Senate to try and terminate that emergency. However, the governor did a press release Friday afternoon, and a little spirit of anger in his voice, but Governor Brad Little kind of ripped on the legislative branch Friday. It is his belief that the legislators are putting the vaccinations for all of the Idahoans in jeopardy by terminating the emergency declaration. And let me just make sure that we're very clear on what's happening here. And so I've got hundreds, probably close to thousands of emails since the governor made his statement. It's made life kind of miserable, and I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. So, you know, for months we've been hearing from constituents with concerns about their jobs, businesses, increased use of alcohol and drugs in their communities, suicides, the lack of social interaction brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. We've also seen tremendous overreach by our government in mandating the number of people who can peacefully assemble, which businesses are essential, and what activities are permitted. Our constituents have had enough. They sent us to Boise to act on their behalf, and we are. We're doing just that. We've asked the executive branch for information since last spring on the emergency declaration and to define what is the proper role of government during a national emergency. We've asked for specifics on how much in federal funding the state of Idaho has received, how the money has been allocated, the vaccine rollout strategy, and most importantly, when we as citizens can return to life as normal. We've received very, very little information thus far. Our intent with the bills that are making their way through the Idaho legislature is to follow through on what's been asked of us by our constituents to provide relief. We have no plans whatsoever. There are no plans to jeopardize funding or hamper the administration of the COVID-19 vaccine, as it has been alleged. Those assertions are irresponsible. There can be a mutually accepted compromise, but this war on words must stop. It's time to employ the three branches of government in Idaho for the betterment of its citizens. We need to work together and quit fighting. Most people that are saying, I want the emergency over, to terminate. As I talk with them, and probably as you think about it, I don't know that we really care about the emergency. What we really care about is I want to go see my grandkid, my grandson play basketball, my kids' activities. Why can't I go and watch a basketball game or my daughter in a ballet because there's too many, but yet I can go to Walmart and sit in line with 30 other people? That's what I believe we're having the problem with, is some of the mandates that just do not make any sense whatsoever. And so that's where we're at. But you need to know and be very, very clear. We are not in any shape or form trying to stop the funding And you might say, well, I don't want the funding. Get rid of it. There's always strings attached. Well, how about the small business owners next door to you that are struggling? Those that are unemployed because they lost their job because of COVID-19. So we do need some of that funding. And I believe we can get that funding without any problem and still go watch your son or daughter's basketball game or football game or whatever it may be, to have our kids back into school. Those are the things that we need. And so that is what we're working at. And I just don't want you to think that we're putting the vaccine at jeopardy. That is not true. Not true at all. So the second thing that happened this week that is kind of exciting is there is a bill going through that went through the House already, and it's a proposed constitutional amendment. This amendment will allow the legislation to call themselves back into session. Now, some of you might think, well, whoa, wait a minute. I don't want the legislation calling them back into session. And maybe let's back up. Right now, the Constitution states that the legislation cannot just call themselves into session like we did this summer. It took the governor to say, okay, we need to have an extraordinary session. We need to bring the legislators back into town to do some business. And we did that, okay? So this proposal is to allow the legislation to call themselves into session. Now, they would need a 60% vote from both the House and the Senate to be able to do that. So in other words, you got to have 60% of them say, I really believe this is an emergency. I really believe that we do need to meet, that I need to drop my job and take time off from family and friends and job and go to Boise and do some legislation. There is no effort, there is no undertones to this to try and make the legislative full-time employees of the state of Idaho. That is not true. It is simply to be able to, if we ever have a pandemic again or any other kind of emergency, that the legislators can come back and help make some of those rules, help define what the money goes to and where it's allocated. Those things are needed. And so that passed the House and is now headed to the Senate. And I personally believe that is a good thing. One thing about this pandemic has brought to light some of the holes that we may have in the Constitution, that our forefathers, when they created the Idaho State Constitution, that they never even dreamed of or thought of. And so we're trying to fill some of those holes. You might, just so you know, we're only one of the handful of states that cannot call themselves into session in any need of an emergency. And so we're only a few states that cannot do that. So if that passes the House and the Senate and the governor signs it, you will see that on your ballot come 2022. Okay. Anyway, Boise has been great. It's learned a lot. JFAC, we are busy looking at the governor's proposed budget and seeing how we can be frugal, spend it the right way, and give money back where we can. Tax relief would be awesome. So I'd love to hear from you. I have got hundreds and hundreds of emails since the governor's statement Friday, and so I'm trying to answer those, but there are so many I probably won't be able to, and especially if you don't put your address. If I know you're not in my district, I simply don't answer. I just can't do it. But anyway, I do love to hear from you. I love hearing the issues and concerns you have. We might not agree on the same stuff, and that's, I hope that's fine. But hopefully we can find somewhere in the middle of the road where we can agree and we can work forward on it. So anyway, have a great Saturday, have a great weekend, and I will see you again next Saturday with Breakfast with the Cooks. Join me though, join the movement, and together we will put Idaho first. Thank you.